Three, two, one. All right, everyone. Welcome back to the truth. Today I got one of my buddies slash my wife's cousin, Raphael, and I'll let him introduce himself here in just a second. But yeah, I was excited about getting Raphael on here because he's pretty successful guy, and I had a ton of questions for him. I'm excited to kind of pick his brain today and I'm going to hand it over to him in just a second and let him introduce himself. But me and Raphael met high school before. Was it high school? About high school,
Yeah,
huh?
pretty much high school.
High school, we played soccer together, moved to Dallas, went to the same college, and graduated together, actually. But we'll get into all of that in just a little bit. But right now, I'm going to let Raphael introduce himself, and then we'll kind of get into how how he is where he is in life right now and how he got there.
Sounds
Yeah.
good. Yeah, well, my name's Rafel Luna. So right now, I guess you can say I'm a full-time real estate investor. Yeah, like Eddie said, we met back in high school, graduated college together. But yeah, after college, everything kind of happens. Life
Mhm.
goes on. We find different things as far as jobs and all that good stuff. So
Yeah.
somewhere in there, I found real estate, and that's how
Yeah.
was where I'm at right now, pretty much.
So, me and Raphael, you went to school because we went to the same school, but we were going for different things. I was going for computer network engineering. You were going for what was it?
Architectural drafting.
I was gonna ask you. So, architect, do you use what you went to school for? Do you use that in what you do now, or not? Not really.
No, not really. Not really, honestly, because architectural drafting or CAD, which is the program that we were using,
Mm-hmm.
it's like to draw up blueprints. I mean, we could use it on rehabs and stuff, but,
You really don't
no,
get
no,
into all that.
yeah.
Okay. I was wondering about that because I knew it was something to do with something along those lines, like blueprints or something. And I was like, well, I know you do a lot of real estate, so I figured maybe somehow it would incorporate it
I
in
know,
there, you
right?
know?
I wish.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I don't use none of mine either, so,
yeah,
you
yeah.
know.
Because going with that was the reason why I went to school to study that was the school we went to. I mean, that school wasn't.
Yeah.
Not saying no names on it, but I think they even shut it down.
Yeah.
Uh,
My brother-in-law, Oscar, was telling me that they were getting sued or something.
yeah,
I
yeah.
didn't even know that till like a month ago. I told him I need to give me a part of it or something. I wish.
Yeah, because that was like a fast-paced school. Right? It was like a technical school, right?
Yeah,
It took
yeah,
less
boy.
than 2 years,
Mm-hmm.
so everything was just fast. Everything was quick. So with architectural drafting, like me as a kid, I wanted to be like an architect.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, kind of do that at the beginning, then just start from there.
Right.
But yeah, on that school, it was just like everything just fast. You had to know something. If you didn't
Yeah.
know, you had to read the books.
The hard thing was also like once you finish school, it was like I remember trying to apply at different jobs, and all the jobs were like you have to have 5 or 10 years experience. It's like, how are you going to get that experience if nobody gives you a chance to get those five or
Yeah,
10 years?
yeah.
Which didn't make much sense. They count like those 2 years. I think they count it as experience. But when you need 5 or 10, you don't have a shot of going up against guys that've been doing it for 10, 15 years.
Yeah.
Applying for the same jobs. They're not going to give it to you.
Yeah, and keep in mind too, I think we graduated like in 2010, and
Yep.
around that time
Yep.
it was like a certain recession that was going on that I wasn't aware of, right? Because
Right.
I wasn't too tied in with the whole economy and all that, but there was a little recession going on, and jobs were being lost, and so it was a tough time.
Right.
That
It just wasn't the best time for
yeah,
what we went to school for.
yeah, pretty much.
But when you're young like that, man, you think you're doing something good. You think you're going to go somewhere with it,
Uh,
and you really don't know until you get older. Like, man, I probably could have did something else and
I know.
But I mean, it all worked out for the best, I guess, because
Yeah,
yeah,
I think when I look back, it's like everything that happened in my life happened for a reason.
right,
Like something happens that taught you a certain lesson,
yeah, that's true.
and then you just pick on that and just, I mean, you just
Hmm.
learn from it, right?
Yeah, you just grow from that
Yeah,
experience. And it was I think it was a growing experience because like we were 18 years old living in Dallas, Texas by
yeah.
ourselves, on our own with job. I remember you worked at Kroger's, I remember you working at Kroger's. I
Kroger's.
worked at UPS, and you're bringing home a couple $100 every week. You have to learn. You have to pretty much grow up, you know,
I know.
quick.
I
Whether
remember $167.
yeah, yeah, and you know, you look back. I think I was making like $200 a week,
Dang.
you know, and your rent over there is like what 1,200 a month or
Yeah, it was
something.
high.
Yeah, so those experiences, man, they definitely help you grow. So when you start like getting into actually buying a house and all that, you're like you appreciate, you know, what you have a lot more.
Yeah. No, that's what I say. It's like with everything in life, it's like we learn something from it. Because
Mm-hmm.
after college, it was just like I had a bunch of weird jobs, and
Yeah.
from each job is like I learned something from it.
Yep. And that's one question I had for you. So like right now you're full time. What'd you say it was called? Real
Yeah,
estate.
real estate investor.
So how does it feel, man? It must be an amazing feeling to be able to like know that you're doing this full time because I know you used to work those long 12-hour shifts like me,
Yeah.
you know, and man, again, we've talked about it all off camera. Like it gets old and it gets old
Oh yeah.
fast. So to be able to like drive past your old job and know that, you know, you don't have to go there, clock in anymore, anywhere. You just kind of your own boss on your own schedule. Man, that must, how does that feel?
It feels good, right? You kind of feel in a way. Uh, it's pretty much. I don't know, honestly, to tell you. The best feeling that I can say is like I remember when I used to have like a weekend off, like a Saturday.
Mm-hmm.
So now it's kind of like every day it feels like a Saturday to me
Oh, wow.
because when you get up, you're just kind of like I mean you have stuff to do. Now it's like since you're doing working for yourself,
Right.
it's like you have to do it, right?
Mm-hmm.
So now you're doing it for yourself and you're doing it for your family. But no, that's the best feeling. But at the same time, it comes with its things, right? You
Right.
got a lot of responsibilities. You have to go out there and do what you have to do. But you don't feel that safety net of a job. So now it's
Right.
kind of like you
That
have to.
have to clock in and know that you have to be there and do this certain job for this certain amount of time. You know, that has to be a great feeling. Do you do you ever think like does it add more stress to you now? Like knowing that you have to pretty much like make this work or do you feel less stressful?
Well, I mean, I would say a little bit more stress, honestly, because now it's for me how I look at it is I'm putting my back against the wall, and usually when you
Mhm.
put your back against the wall, it's when you come up with these creative ideas,
Yeah.
how you're gonna make it and whatnot. But when I did have the job, I mean, you have the job. It's like a safety net. They give
Yeah.
you these benefits, 401k, and all that stuff. And I mean, it's good, right? I
Right.
mean, and if you love what you're doing, I mean, keep on doing it, right?
Mhm.
And for me, it wasn't working out because I was there for 12 years.
Yeah,
So
wow.
working those 60-hour weeks and 12-hour days,
Night shifts,
night shift, day
man,
shift, whatever they needed.
that's a long time. 12 years to be doing it.
Yeah, and then I think for me, it came to realize because I listen to a lot of motivational stuff like David Goggins and
Yep.
Tony Robbins and all that
Hmm.
stuff. And for me, like when I think about stress, I think it's just something that we create
In our
like
mind.
in our mind within ourselves. So
Right.
if you know that something's gonna mess up, if you know like there's gonna be like a reaction to something you do and you're prepared for it, so like it kind of just relieves that.
Right. It's almost like I've heard David Goggins talk about that, where he says something like he's so hardcore because he mentally prepares himself for anything that life
Yeah,
throws at him. You
yeah,
know.
you gotta train for life pretty
Yeah,
much.
and that's what he was saying. I remember listening to him one time, and he was talking about something like when I get that phone call in the middle of the night where my mom's gone or something, I'm prepared for it. I'm
Yeah,
ready for it. You know,
yeah,
like that hardcore stuff. You got to prepare mentally for that stuff.
yeah,
You
because
know.
it's gonna come.
Yeah.
So to me, that's how I look at stress. It's kind of like, I mean, it is gonna happen. Stuff is gonna go wrong. Like,
Yep. You can't
shit's gonna hit the fan or whatever.
you can't prevent it. You
Yeah,
cannot.
as long as you have like a plan that you have in place, like if something like that does happen, like your brain already knows, like, well, this is what we need to do.
Right.
Can I fix it now? If I can't, why worry about it?
Yeah. So for you, like, what is your like ultimate goal for what you're doing now? Like right now, so talk a little bit about like what you're doing now. Like as far as do you just buy like houses? I think I've seen you put bids on like apartment
Hmm.
complexes, stuff like that. Do you what is your ultimate big goal?
Well, when I first started, it was just honestly like another side of income, right? Like
Right.
having another revenue source. So, and then I was like, well, it'd be cool if I can retire, just just make enough money where I can just rely on the rent that's coming in.
Mm-hmm.
So just like overview picture, what I do is just purchase properties. It mainly is like a small apartment complexes, like duplex, 4 unit, 8 unit, and stuff
Mm-hmm.
like that. So we go in and just rehab it and just increase the value of the property by fixing it up and whatnot, increasing the rents. So making sure your mortgage and all that gets paid down with the rents and all that, and then whatever's left over after all
Uh-huh.
expenses, then that's what you consider your cash flow. So
Okay.
yeah, so the
So
more
is that what they would consider in the real estate bit, like flipping houses? Like, is that what they consider
yeah,
that?
yeah, there's
Pretty
different
much.
strategies, right? I mean, you can flip houses for profit, or you can buy properties and just hold them.
And
And
then you like when you say you buy properties and hold them, that means you stay the owner of them, but
yeah,
you just get that cash flow that you're talking
yeah,
about come in.
hmm
So and then the difference with that and flipping houses is when they flip a house, they just buy it, renovate it, and then resell it.
hmm
Ah, okay, I
yeah,
got you,
yeah.
got you.
And
Okay.
there's a lot of ways to do it, right? Get creative with it. You can raise money from family and friends, or
Mhm.
if you have some money set aside that you're able to purchase a property, then put the money for the rehabs. Or there's like all kinds of, you know, things that you can use. Private
Right.
money. There's companies that lend you money for it. So
Hmm.
it's different ways, right?
Right.
So yeah, starting with that, that was like I wanted to do like the extra source of income. Then just found apartments, so just started doing that. And then when I started seeing that it was producing,
Right.
and then using the value of the properties, create equity in the properties,
Mhm.
and be able to refinance and pull the money back out, and just do it over, kind of like
Right.
rinse and repeat.
Was the understanding the business part of it, was that complicated? Like the way money works towards it and comes in and all that?
Well, at first, it sounds like it's complicated, but once you
Mhm.
start doing it, like you find like the meaning behind it, why you're doing it. Because at first, I didn't know, I didn't understand.
It's
Like,
all about sounds like it's a lot of like strategizing. Like
yeah, yeah,
yeah.
yeah. It's always about like, what's your business plan? What's your exit strategy? What's the long term play? Like, what's because when you purchase a deal, you got to go in like knowing like what is your exit plan, or
Right.
knowing what is the business plan. That way, you can start from day one and
Mm.
execute.
So how do you like when you look for something that you want to buy or like say you're looking at houses or whatever, how do you know what you're looking for when it comes to a house that you want to buy? Because I know I'm sure there's a lot of houses you go and look at and you're like, yeah, this ain't the one for me or whatnot.
Yeah. No, at the end of the day, I think it changes within time. Like at the beginning, it was like it really didn't matter if I can afford it, something
Oh,
cheap.
okay.
Like you could just go and purchase it, and just every deal is different, and you're gonna learn a lot from each deal. So as time comes by, like I've been doing it for 5 6 years now,
Mm-hmm.
so now my main concern is like the location, what
Mm.
the age of the property. What is it that we need to do up front? You want to look at the main things, which is your foundation, electrical, plumbing. Those are your main things, right?
Like how much money you're gonna have to actually put into this
hmm
house to get it pretty much.
Get it going,
Okay.
and what is your business plan too?
Mm.
Yeah, so it's a lot of little,
Balancing.
yeah, yeah. And the
Balancing.
thing with
Okay.
real estate, it's always like they say, it's always gonna forgive, right? So if you bought a bad deal, you overpaid for something, like within time, it's gonna appreciate, and then
Mm.
you're still gonna break even, or you're gonna make money off of it.
Right.
It's like if
It's not really like you completely lose it all, even if it
unless
may be a bad deal at the time, but then eventually it kind of smooths it
yeah,
out.
yeah.
Oh, okay.
Unless you just buy just didn't have common sense, and you just buy something
Yeah,
that
that you had no business
yeah, you
buying.
buy it in a war zone. You need all this work, and nothing's going for that area.
I know, like one thing that must be difficult is finding people to live in the houses that you
The
probably like
the
once you get
things.
them going or whatever. Before you answer that, how many do you own now?
Oh man, it's and the real estate world is like we go by units, like per door. So
So, like,
it's
is even for a house, you would consider it a unit?
yeah, yeah. You'll
Okay.
consider like the one door. If you have a duplex, it's 2 doors. 8 units, 8 doors. So in total, like all the properties mixed together, I think like I'm at 70, 75, or something
Oh
like that.
wow. Is that just? Do you have any out of state?
No, it just everything pretty much local.
Do you plan on getting anything out of state or no? Or you
No,
want to
I
keep
actually
it
want
look?
to. Yeah, I actually like to put my eyes on it. Like if there's something that's going on, there's any renovations going on.
Uh huh.
Like I like to be there. Like I like dealing with the contractors and just keeping an eye on things. And
Mm,
yeah,
okay. Yeah. So
it'd be
we
cool though.
yeah.
No, yeah.
Or
Especially like I do want to get something out of state, but that's like down the line, you know,
right.
like Florida or yeah, pretty much Florida. That's what I'm targeting.
Is the rules or like is it different at different states? Do you
Hmm.
know? Yeah.
Yeah,
So like, what would you the process of buying a house here would be different from somewhere else? Pretty much doing it somewhere else.
yeah, not yeah. It's probably the same, but I'm talking more like as far as if you're buying properties to rent out to tenants because they have what they call landlord state friendly states or whatever.
Yeah.
That's it's like New York is not it's not landlord friendly, which means that they go more with the tenant, the resident, and there's a lot more leeway for them. That means that if you needed a victim for whatever reason, the process is longer, and then
I
it's
saw something somewhere, man. I don't. I may have been YouTube or somewhere where there's a state that, like, if the tenant is living in a house, the landlord can't just kick them out, and that they were having problems where like the tenants were just living there without paying rent, and the owner couldn't kick them out.
yeah,
They're just pretty much living for free.
for free. Yeah, you got like California and New York is the two main ones that I know of that a lot of people have issues with. So you have Texas and Florida, which are landlord friendly, so that means the process is easier. But I mean,
Hmm.
it's all about systems, honestly. So if you do have rental properties, it all comes down to the tenant you put in place, the applications. You got to go through the screening process. You got to make
Mm.
sure that's the most important step,
Like a
honestly.
background check.
Yeah, everything, credit check, background check, and employment. I mean, verify everything. They say
Right.
trust but verify. So, because you're going to be dealing with them if you manage your own property. So,
Yeah.
so if you want to have a good relationship, it's just yeah.
Do you like when you have you had some tenants where you just like couldn't get along with them?
Uh, I try to treat everybody the same, right? So
Mm.
I'm fair but firm. So I really don't try to be friends,
Right.
buddies with them. It's just like strictly business.
Right.
There is people that try to take advantage of
Yeah.
me trying to be Mr. Nice Guy or whatever. But
Hmm.
I deal with a lot of people that I've learned kind of trust that gut feeling or
Right.
that instinct
You
and
can get that vibe off of them. Like,
yeah,
yeah,
you can
something
pick
ain't
up
right
certain
here.
things,
Yeah.
something ain't right, and then just trust that. Because at the beginning, it's like you didn't know that, so
You want to like put your faith in everybody that everybody's gonna do the right
I know,
thing,
yeah,
and then you get screwed over so many times. It's like,
yeah,
hey, this ain't gonna work.
yeah, and I've learned that this year. I mean, this year is pretty much just kind of like I was telling my wife, it's kind of like the people that you really want for them to be telling the truth are the people that end up screwing you at the end. It's kind of
Mm.
like they have all these sob
Hmm.
stories, and you really want to believe them, and at the end, it's just like,
Yeah, they're the main ones that screw you
yeah.
over.
But no, it's. I mean, for me, real estate, the end goal is it's really I don't have an end goal, right? So I'm doing it full time right now. I just like try to purchase something every year, and just continue to grow and actually somehow have an educational platform too to be able to show people or tell people how if I can do it, yeah, I mean you can do it
Right.
too. So because I mean you got to think about it now. It's like if you just rely on the income that you got from your job, and let's say something happens, like COVID happened, right?
Right.
So there's a lot of things that do happen in life that we can't control.
Yeah.
So if you can control your finances and have extra income coming in, I mean it's
Why
like
not?
why not do it, right?
Hmm.
Especially if you're like the man of the house, it's kind of like
Yeah,
you got to
you have
figure it
to
out.
find that extra income to come in one way or another, And there's a lot of people that have like side jobs, that have a full time job, and then weekends they do something else, and
Yeah.
that's their extra cash flow. But if you can just do something that's not physical, because you have to think about later on down the road, we're all gonna get old, whether we want to or not.
Yeah.
You can only have a hard job for so long.
Yeah.
Like I think about like I see sometimes when I stop and put gas, like some of these guys that are construction workers, they're in the 50s and 60s, man, and it's heartbreaking to watch, and it's just like, man, and that's when you think like, man, if I can
Yeah.
find the extra cash flow so I don't have to be that guy,
Yeah. I think it's just getting educated in the space too because, I'm a Mexican, of course.
Mhm.
It's like we grew up, it's just kind of like you have to work. Like,
Yep.
we were brought to the United States and my parents, all they know is just work and
Work.
work and
Yep.
work. It's like, my dad would call me Saturday or Sunday. It's like, what are you doing? I was like, oh, it's like,
Yeah.
how come you're not working?
Yeah.
How come you're not at church?
Yeah.
So it's kind of like you just got to work. So they never really thought about like, okay, all this money that I'm making from working, it's like,
Investing.
what is it doing? You go out, you make a nice check, you get a lot of money, whatever. Then you go buy a expensive car, you buy an expensive
Right.
house,
Yeah.
but at the same time, you're gonna have to continue to work to pay for that.
Yeah. It's like you're never gonna get truly ahead. You know,
Yeah,
you're never gonna have that extra money in the savings, all that extra good
yeah,
stuff paid off. You know.
yeah. Just save up some money and then just get educated in the space and whatever you want to do, and just invest in yourself and invest in the business that you want to do, and then I mean go from there.
Um, I was gonna ask you, like, you have 70 houses. Do you think there'll be like a certain amount of number that you would stop at, where it would be too overwhelming to where you're like, man, I have too much, too many,
Yeah,
or would you be able to like just sell some of them and then invest that into newer ones or
yeah.
something?
No, that's yeah, that's kind of what we're doing now. It's kind of like it's the properties that are giving us some issues, we'll just sell off, and if we can make profit, we'll just go buy some more. But
Hmm.
I think we're never satisfied, so
Right.
you're always gonna want more,
You're
right?
always chasing more and
Yeah,
more.
and it's not about money. It's kind of like the houses that we do get is kind of we go in, we rehab them, we fix them. So
Hmm.
you're actually not only helping yourself, you're helping the community too,
Right.
bringing something back to life, and then you're actually giving people a good place to stay. And
That's a very good point. I don't mean to cut you off, but that's a very good point. I never thought of it that way. Like you buying houses, fixing them up, you're really actually helping the community
yeah,
because you're taking these old beat up houses, fixing them up, you know, and now you're giving somebody a nice place to live, which is a good perspective to look at that. Like I didn't think of it that way.
yeah, and then you're giving people jobs because I don't do none of the work myself. Like I
Mhm.
mean, I've tried and it's just not for me. So I just hire like most of the stuff out, and then you're just giving the jobs to the
Right.
contractors, his people that he has, the landscapers, and all that. So it's kind of like a circle. So
Right.
if you're able to do that and you're able to do that for the community, I think it's a good deal.
Right. So I know you were saying you keep saying we. When you say we, how many business partners do you have that you
Oh,
work with? Is it like a bunch of them, or
I don't know. I think it's just a habit that I say we. Probably my
do you have
internal.
like business partners though?
This year I started venturing off into the business with the business partners too.
And
Like I have Jess White. Him and I have some properties together. Then we just bought a mobile home park with my brother-in-law, and then his brother, Hernan and Eric.
hmm
So I'm partnered up with them in that property as well.
and how do you like when you work with somebody on something like that? How do you like know who you want to work with or whatever? Or is it that do they come to you or you go to them or how does that
No, it's
work?
just providing value. Providing value, honestly. Like for example, me and Jess, I like going to these conferences. I try to go at least 3 to 4 a
Hmm.
year, and because you're meeting people, real estate conferences, right? So
Right.
you're meeting people that are into real estate, that are doing things in real estate. So I ended up meeting him in New Orleans about a year ago.
Uh huh.
Turns out he's from Longview, so we just kind of connected there, and then I saw what he was doing. He was full time in it as well, so it just kind of like see what he can help me with, or I can help him with,
Hmm.
and then just come together. Like two heads are better than one.
Right.
Yeah, because I mean, a lot of thing is if you want to do things yourself, I mean, you're gonna go slow. But if you have a team or you have people that you can, grow with,
Right.
you go a little bit faster.
And how does that part of it work? Like say say me and you were to invest into something. Like, what part of it would you be taking care of? What part would I be taking care
Hmm.
of? Like, when it comes to renovating and stuff, would you be like, well, I know a guy that can do this, and then he would be like, well, I know a guy that can do this, or how does that work? Do y'all have your own people that you guys go to, or?
Yeah, we both like use each other's people. For example, with him, it's just kind of like I found the deals, I organized the deal. I was dealing with the seller and all that stuff,
Mm-hmm.
and then with him on that side is he helped me with the financing. We were able to get lending because of him. And then
Okay.
I had just quit my job, so it was like the banks and all that weren't
Right.
able to lend me. But as far as like somebody else that does want to invest in some of my deals, it's just kind of like they can invest as a money partner. Like,
Mm-hmm.
hey, I have 30, 50 or whatever,
Right.
and it's like, well, for me, I just give them a return on it. I call them
Mm.
debt investors. They're just investing the money, and then they're kind of tied in with the property.
Right.
So I just take that money, use it on that property, rehab it, do what I need to do with it, and then just go back to the bank, refinance it, and then I'm
Mm.
able to pull that money that you invested, pull it out, and give it back to you with a certain return on that
So that
investment.
it comes with that profit once
Yeah.
you return it
Mm.
back. Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
that's why it's normally like a year, 2 years. You
Did
know,
you have to do like a lot of studying and stuff to learn all of this, or those seminars and stuff like that? Do
yeah.
they show you that at those,
They
or
they do show you a lot of things, but most of the time it's just like by taking action. I think the best thing you can do is just take action, and you'll figure it out
as you
along the
go?
way. Yeah, and then just getting around people that are doing it,
Mm,
and you can just kind of go bounce ideas back of each other, and then sometimes I mean there's things that go wrong, and then you're like from just shake it off and
go on to the
go
next
on to
deal.
the next and figure it out. Because I mean nobody has it like smooth,
Right. Nobody's perfect at it.
No, there's always going to be something. There's always going to be stuff that pops up that you didn't expect, and
Right.
you're like,
Oh, speaking of that, have you ever bought like a house and you've already like invested in it, and then a bunch of stuff pops up that you were like, man, I didn't know all this was wrong with it or something.
yeah. Just the one of the recent ones. It was I'm not going to say because we're about to put it on the market, but yeah, it's just
It was
like
the one right around the corner over there.
no, it's not only that. I mean, we got it up and running. It looks real nice. It's just like a bunch of the stuff is outdated, like the electrical, the plumbing. In order for you to do that, then you got to tear up some walls. You got to do this. You got to do that.
You pretty much end up investing more into it than
Yeah,
what you had
yeah.
originally planned.
Hmm.
Do you like when you buy a house? Say you buy a house, do you have a certain amount, like a certain budget that you know you're gonna waste on that house,
Hmm.
and then you kind of stick to that budget?
Yeah.
Okay.
Usually when you have it under contract, you go check it out. I usually take my contractor out there, and then he goes through it with me, and then he checks it out, and I'm just like, man, just give me a high ballpark figure. Just how much would it cost to
Like
get
a
this
little
done?
over just to
Yeah,
be on the safe
be,
side.
be extra with it.
Right.
Yeah, and then that way, whenever it does happen, we purchase the deal, and then they go in and fix it. It's like a lot less, so we were ready for it if
If it does happen.
something. Yeah,
Yeah, that makes sense.
yeah.
Do you have a like as far as like contractors and stuff? Is there a lot of different contractors you have, or do you have your just like this guy, this guy, this guy, and this guy?
I think it's like seasonal.
6 different
No,
ones?
there's like there's different because I mean there's people that kind of get comfortable and that I'm giving them work, and then they just kind of like start
Slacking up.
gauging the price up, and then
Mm.
I was like I get other bids too. I'm not just gonna go off your
Right.
bid, and it's
Yeah,
like,
like he's not the only one.
well, you're not the only one,
Yeah.
But I like to keep good relationships, good relationship with the contractors too, because you don't want to burn your bridges.
Right.
So most of the time, like if they're good to me, like, because I can't be there 24/7. I want somebody there that is a contractor that's going to be in charge of it, and then like if something pops up that it's common sense to fix it
Right.
because it's gonna cause issues down the line. It's
Mhm.
like you go ahead and fix it,
Right.
and then let me know afterwards and what you had to do.
Yeah.
Rather
and
than
we'll
like
just take care of it.
yeah, it's like, oh, by the way, yeah, there was like something a
Yeah,
stud that was messed up,
Yeah,
but
there's something behind that wall I just patched up.
it's not working. But
Yeah.
you only told me to do this.
Yeah.
It's like there's different people, So I just like to. Right now, yeah, I have a couple that I like to use, and they're good to me. They've been good to me, so we'll see how that goes.
Heck yeah. Well, guys, we're going to take a quick break. I'm going to come back to you guys in just a second. All right, and we are back. We were talking about contractors. There was something else I wanted to get into. What was I? I was going to ask you. How did you originally, like, think of doing real estate? Like, how did you actually get into it? Was it just something that you always like, I like to play around with it, or did it just like land in your lap?
Oh no, it was funny because I mean I like to read. So when I was working at my W-2 job, I had a lot of time. I was just there like and I was working graveyard, so I just started reading, and then it just like read Rich Dad Poor Dad. I mean, a lot of people probably read that book, and
Yeah.
it's kind of introduces you to a view working, buying assets instead of
Right.
liabilities and all that stuff. But yeah, I started reading his book, and then it just pretty much based off of that. Because I mean, I was Googling like
Right.
how do people make money without working too much.
Right.
So it's like being like a real estate investor is kind of like one of those things that kept popping up. So yeah, the education platform. I read that book. A friend of mine actually gave it to me. I read it, and then there was like a conference coming up that supposedly the author was going to be there. I went to it. The guy wasn't there, but they were pitching you like a course or whatever.
Right.
Yeah. So I fell for it, and I paid for the course. Then they pitched you another coaching thing, so I fell for that too. So
Was-
it's kind of like
What was it like? Did you think when you started getting into this, was it like when you were getting your feet wet, you're like, man, I can do this, or was it like, what the hell am I getting myself into?
Pretty much, because these courses, man, they're expensive. They're, I think the one that I ended up getting was like $12,000, and I was like, you want me to start investing in real estate, and I'm gonna take all my money and
Yeah, I got to pay for this course and then to buy a
yeah,
house.
yeah. So I got creative with it. I ended up partnering up with a friend of mine, and they paid half, and I paid half, and then we
Oh,
were just
okay.
taking the courses together. But what happened there is just I was just like, well, if I'm gonna spend this money, I better make it back. So like
Yeah,
I was like, well, whatever the education here, the books and all that says to do, I'm gonna do it because I want to make my money back.
yeah,
I'm not
like
gonna
that's a
lose it.
lot of money to just invest and
Yeah.
then just brush it off, you
Yeah,
know.
and so they teach you like kind of the basics of real estate and what you can do and how to do this and how to do that. So it just, like I said, it just taking action and going from there.
What do you think if like the real estate world wouldn't have worked for you, what do you think you would have been doing? You think you would have
Oh
still
man.
been at your normal job, or you think you would have tried to venture off into something different?
Yeah, probably venture off into something different because
Yeah,
I can't.
you were like me, where you just like you don't even want to wake up in the morning because you know you got to go to that job, and
Yeah,
you know it triggers something in your head where it's almost like I have to figure out something in life. Like this
yeah,
is something I can't do forever, you know.
yeah.
Like I had Adam on the last podcast, and that's what me and him were talking about because he was in the Marines, and I asked him the same question, like because his story was crazy. He went to go apply for the army. His mom took him out of school because some guy he never had met, never knew, came and put a knife to his throat.
Oh, wow.
And his mom took him out of school, and he got his GED, and he was like, he didn't know what to do with his life, so he was like, I'm gonna go to the army, and he went to the army place, like here they have it at the mall. He went to that, and they were closed. He said he walked in next to it was the Marines. He said he walked into the Marines one, and they told him, "You're too fat. Get out of here." He
Wow.
said that's what they told me. He's like, so I turned around, I was walking out, and this other Marine recruiter came and grabbed me, and he's like, "You want to be a Marine?" He was like, "Yeah." So that's how he got into the Marines. But I asked him, I was like, "What do you think if that recruit would have let you walk out? What would you have done?" And he's like, I don't know. I probably would have gone to the Navy. So he had it in his mind. He wanted to be in one of those
One of
branches,
those.
but it just so happened to be the Marines. They say the Marines is like, one of the hardest
Yeah.
ones. He said he was this chubby fat kid or whatever. So that's how it worked out for him. But
So he ended
that's
up going into the Marines.
he ended up going to the
Wow.
Marines and doing working on helicopters in the Marines. He got a pretty interesting story, which was it was really interesting talking to him about that and getting that perspective from that other side. All the things that he went through, but the way that he got there was crazy.
Yeah, yeah.
It's pretty crazy. So,
That's what makes it interesting, right? Because I mean, in life, we're dealt with a bunch of cards, and
yep,
it's just like how we deal with it. So that's why I say it's like you learn a lot. Like there's different stages in your life.
right,
Like when I quit my job, it's just like like oh crap, So
yeah,
it's kind of like what I do now.
yeah. Like, where do I go from here?
Yeah, no, it's definitely tough, honestly. So it's kind of like it's a different stage, but it's like you wouldn't go back to where you were.
Right.
So it's like I'm not going back. So it's like you have to figure it out. So this is pretty much how life is,
I
right?
think that I think that's a lot of people's problems is like they know they can go back to where they came from and they have that to fall back on. But if you put your back against the wall and you know that you have to make that work, I think that's what helps you really succeed and keep moving forward. Like, because I think a lot of people are like they'll quit a job, but they know that job will take them back anytime they want,
Yeah.
and they get too comfortable and then they end up not succeeding and they could just go back to where they came from. But you really got to put your feet down, put your back against the wall, and man, just
Just keep on chugging.
stick your head down and keep going
Yeah,
forward.
man,
But
because it's challenging. I mean, it's challenging. I mean, and not every day is perfect. So it's kind of like you really got to find a reason why you're doing what you're
yep,
doing.
what's your why is what they
Yeah.
say. What's
Well,
your
what's
why?
what's your why? Because I mean, when stuff gets tough, it's kind of like it would be easy for you to give up, and then a lot
Mhm.
of people be like, well, I knew he was gonna give up. I knew he was.
Yeah.
So and it can come from close family or friends or whatever, but you know it's you got to do it for
Right.
you, and if you're doing it for your family or whatnot, it just because you're setting an example too.
Yep. You're not. Yeah. At the end of the day, you're not just doing it for you. You're doing. There's others that are relying on you to
Yeah.
succeed just as much as you're relying on yourself to succeed.
Yeah, there was one thing I heard this morning too. It's kind of like I think it was like a father was telling his kid, his son or his daughter. He was kind of like telling them, like giving them words of encouragement.
Right.
It's kind of like you can do anything you want, you can be anything you want.
Hmm.
And then the kid, tells the dad, it's like, how come you're not doing what you?
Oh
It's kind
man.
of just flip the question.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like your kids are watching, so you gotta lead by
Hmm.
example.
And that's like the same thing. Going back to Adam, when I asked him like about that, I said, "What's your like? What do you see in your future? Like, what is your future goal? Kind of like I asked you, what's your ultimate goal?" And his was like, he's like, "I want to leave something for my kids. Like, I want to
Mm,
make sure that my kids are good when I'm older, not just me, but my kids." So, I think that plays a big role in it too. I think, man, it's hard to get into that because it's like I see a lot of people that when you give your kids everything, then your kids grow up and some of them get soft.
spoiled or
Yeah, they're spoiled,
soft.
soft. So there's like a fine line uh, when it comes to that. Like you still have to show them life.
Yeah.
You still gotta let them fail. You still gotta let them fall down and they don't get back up on themselves. Because if you just give them everything, man, they're not gonna
Yeah.
know how hard life really is if they have everything growing up. I
Yeah.
think.
No, and then I mean every kid's different. I mean every kid has their own personality, and you gotta talk to them like a certain way. So
Yep.
you just gotta you
Yep.
just gotta know how your kids are, and I mean it's important because your kids, if you're telling them to do like do this, do that, but
Hmm.
you're not doing it yourself. I think because they go more on what you're doing by your
Right.
actions.
They go off your vibe. They see you do something. They want to. They want to do the same thing.
Yeah, yeah, and it gets complicated. Like for example, my parents. I mean, they worked a lot. They worked hard, and my dad still works hard. I mean, that's what I can take from my parents is like, you just
Right.
work hard, and you get where you're at in life. But at the same time, it's kind of like you got to have a balance too with work, and then
Yep.
family as well, because
Yeah.
it gets tough.
It
So
does, and I think that's one of the hardest things. Also, like, and I'm sure it was hard for you when you were trying to go full time with this because you were doing this part time on top of your 12-hour job.
yeah,
So it was like almost all your time was invested into trying to succeed. Even though, like, I'm sure in your mind there was times where you're like, I don't know if this is even worth it.
oh yeah,
Because we all have those thoughts in our mind. Even now, with me chasing my dream, I still have to remind myself, like we're talking about, why I'm doing this.
yeah.
So I know
You
it
have to, man,
get
because
tough.
it's easy to throw in the towel if you want to say
Oh
that.
yeah.
Because I mean, but at the same time, it's. I mean, if you weren't doing it, what were you doing? What would you be doing?
Mhm.
You know?
Yep. And then now, what's crazy now that I started doing this, like I guess you could say, trying to reach my dream. Now I try to think like about it, and I'm like, like you said, what would I be doing? Like if I wasn't doing this on the side, I would probably just be coming home, sitting on the couch, watching TV, doing nothing with my life. Like
Watching the World Cup right now.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. So
good
like
game.
now when I have the extra time not to do nothing, I feel like I need to be doing
Yeah,
something. Like I
yeah,
have to be productive and doing something. Sometimes I'll be caught up on editing videos or whatever, and I'm like, man, I'll tell my wife, I'm like, I need to go make another video. I need to go do this. I need to go do that. And it's like, man, sometimes you have to like just take a
yeah.
second, chill, Eddie, chill. Like you don't have to be 100 miles an hour all the
No,
time.
yeah. I've learned that, and I think what I've done differently is like I schedule the day that I'm a chill, like I'm a relax,
Mm-hmm.
because now it's like, oh, it's scheduled, so now I can just like feel like relief.
Right.
I don't feel like I need to be doing something.
Yeah.
It's like, well, I scheduled it, so like Sundays for me is like more of the family time, more relaxed. So that's
That's your day off.
yeah,
Yeah.
kind of like schedule it off. But other than that, usually you're just up and running, your brain's running, you're running numbers in your sleep, and
Trying to stay a step ahead of everything. Trying to figure out what the next move is.
No, but you gotta enjoy the process though, because I mean, if you just work, and you just angry all the time, it's just like
Yeah.
just enjoy what you do. Because I mean, if you're gonna spend all your time doing it, you just enjoy it.
Right.
Yeah, just like how to say, just enjoy the process, and if you're not having fun with it, yeah, you might
I
be doing it
think
wrong.
I think they said that's probably the most important thing is enjoying it, and like we said many times, like remembering why you're doing it, but enjoying the journey till you get to where you have in your head that you want to get, and once you get there, keep on enjoying it,
Hmm.
ride it out to the end and enjoy every minute of it, even those times that you fall down, or that you fail at something. You got to take something from that and enjoy it somehow, one way or
Yeah,
another.
makes you enjoy life a little bit more.
Yep. Yep.
Enjoy those struggles, the little pain points.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I mean, you have to just, and then you're gonna look back and you're like, man,
Yeah, I've done that
oh,
now. Like, there's been times, like, when it happens, it sucks, It's like, man, why the hell is this happening? I can't believe this happened. But then later on down the road, you look back, man, I remember that happened. Like, if it was nothing then, like,
yeah.
I remember that happened. That ain't too
I
bad.
was worried about that. It's
Yeah,
like it's something
exactly.
small, something,
Right.
but you day to day, just where you're surrounded with, it kind of leads to all that. So,
Yep. How did your, when you, like, quit your job and all that, how'd your family feel about it?
uh, I mean, they saw me more, so they're like, "Hey, what are you doing here?"
Yeah, it's weird seeing you on a weekday.
Yeah, it's like, "What are you doing here?" Like, yeah, and then I was, yeah,
That's
pretty
funny.
much.
Like, when did you start living here on weekdays, man?
Yeah, no, it's like we had to find the balance too, because I mean, you love my wife or whatever, but it's kind of like, you do need your own space. That's why I had
Mm-hmm.
my office in the backyard. I have my
Right.
shed back there, because you do need like a space where you can work and concentrate. And then the family's not used to you being home. I mean, they enjoy it, but at the same time, it's like you got to focus on what you need to be doing too.
Right. You
You can't
still
just
have.
chill.
Yeah, you can't just be like, I quit my
Yeah.
job. I'm gonna chill and money's gonna come
Yeah.
in. What? Nah, that ain't
No,
how.
but it's cool because I mean you can kind of control your time and just delegate stuff too. But I mean,
Just work things around it.
yeah, it's like you can
Yeah.
schedule stuff in that you want to do. You can spend more time with your family or go out and do some stuff with them. But
Yeah, that's pretty cool. I see you got a tattoo.
I know, man.
Man, that
Shout
came
out to
out.
Fernando.
Yeah, that I'm gonna have him on the podcast
Oh,
too.
really?
Nando is one of my really good buddy guys, and he's a tattoo artist. He's the one that done most of my tattoos. That did Raphael's. It came out really
Yeah, man.
good, man.
You gotta read it.
I can, I will, I must.
Yeah. I got it like kind of like a couple days. I mean, a month or so after I did quit. It's kind of like it's just like my thing. Like what am I saying? I can, I
Right.
will, and I must.
Yep.
It sounds cheesy, but it's
It's
you
what
can do
yeah.
you can do anything that you set your mind
Mm-hmm.
to, and it's just like any obstacle that comes across. I mean, you can overcome it.
I think a lot of the trouble people have also succeeded is they're scared to start something. Like they're scared to jump in, and fail at something, because I think we've all been there, like where we're scared to jump into, like for anybody, like you're saying you had to waste like 12,000 on that course. Like a lot of people would be like, I'm out right
Yeah,
then and there. A
yeah.
lot of people wouldn't even that'd be it,
Or just flip it, be like, well, I better get my money back. So
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah, and I think that's what a lot of people struggle with is actually just starting. Sometimes when you just start and just go, then you start seeing things fall into place, start seeing things happen, and which will keep you going to, just like he said, take it day by day by day, and before you know it, you're a year in, 2 years in, 3 years in, and then you have all this extra stuff.
no, yeah, and just remaining positive too, because it's crazy how the mind works. How the law of attraction
Yep.
works, and what you think is what you become, type of thing. It's crazy how that works, right? So
Mhm.
I think just taking that action and just going forward, and I mean it'll play out.
Yeah,
It'll
like
play out.
for me, like when I started YouTube, man, it was something I had been wanting to do for like 2 years already before I started, and I would always tell my wife, one day I'm gonna start my own YouTube channel. One day. I ended up even buying a camera. For those of you that don't know, I have a fishing channel, and that's my main goal is to go full time on that one. But I bought a GoPro, and I literally had it sitting in the box for like a year, just sitting brand new. And I told her, I was like, one day I'm gonna start my YouTube channel.
One
And you
day.
watch. And I told her, when I start, I'm not stopping. I'm going full throttle with it. And she was like, okay, okay.
Yeah,
And
sure, Eddie.
yeah, and And that's exactly what I did. Like one weekend, I woke up on a weekend one day and I said, today's gonna be the day. Like it just hit me, you know, like today's the day. I took that GoPro. I didn't had no idea what I was doing. I had never even turned a GoPro on in my life. Like I didn't know nothing about it. I strapped that GoPro on. I went and I made my first video, and I have not stopped. It's been going on 3 years. I've gone every week for 3 years putting out a video every single week for 3 years straight now. And it was overwhelming when I first started. And me and my wife actually talk about this. I remember getting home after I recorded and trying to find out how to transfer these files over and trying to edit and trying to upload the video. And man, my brain was hurting. I was ready to grab that computer and just break it. You know, she went over there, she helped me and stuff. But man, once I got it going, it was just like I couldn't stop. It was like I was more scared to fail at this than than anything. Like, and once I started seeing things starting to fall into place here and there, then it kind of gave me more motivation, and now, man, like there was even a period of time where it would be like you would put so much time and effort into it, and then you would see somebody else's channel, and you're like, man, I feel like I could do better than them. Why are they doing why are they succeeding more than me? But then over time, you just kind of learn like, man, when it's your time, it's your time. You just got to keep working. You got to keep going, man, and things will fall into place. When it's your time, it'll happen. That was one of the things that I've taken from this journey that I'm going on. And like you said, enjoying it, just having fun with it,
No, it all comes down to like, you've been doing it for 3 years and you do a video every week. Mm-hmm. So that comes down to your habits.
Right.
So pretty much your habits is like create how you are doing things. Because, I mean, if you stop doing it, then it kind of just messes up your flow. So now it's kind of like you have to.
Yep.
It's kind of like it makes it easier, honestly.
Yeah, it does. It does. It kind of gets to a point where it's like, all right, I know I need to have this ready by this day. Next week I want to do this. I want to put this. You kind of know, like you schedule around your schedule. You know, you know where you want to do everything and how you're gonna do it. Plan everything ahead of time. Back then, when I first started, everything was just a mess. Now,
and your priorities are different too.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's like, I think everybody has time. It's just like, what are your priorities? Like, what's your important thing to do? So it's like, if you have your habits good, your priorities are straight.
Right.
It's a lot easier.
Mm-hmm. It really is. Yep. Do you ever like I know they say this helps a lot, which I've started doing it a little bit more than I used to. Do you ever sit down and just write what you want to do?
Oh yeah.
I know they say it helps, so I kind of started doing that, where I just kind of grab a notebook, write down what I want to succeed in, what I want to do, what I want to happen for me, and do you said you do that?
Yeah. No, it's I think it's an important thing to do, honestly. It's like in the morning. Right now, just honestly, is it like I haven't been doing it as much. There's a lot of moving stuff that I have going on, moving and all that. But yeah, it's like I have a journal, and it's at the beginning of the day, you just kind of write what you're grateful for. Gratitude is another important thing that you gotta have. Just be grateful for what you do have now. You might not have the best of things. You might not have the best of, house, car, or whatever. But I mean, you're gotta be grateful.
Yep. For the little things that you have.
So with journaling, I think it's kind of like whatever you have in your head and you're writing it down on a journal. It's kind of like you're just kind of filtering it out, and it kind of makes you think a little bit more clearer, and it just kind of like connects you writing it down in your brain.
Therapeutic.
So, pretty much. It's kind of like you know what you want, but you kind of know where you want to go.
Right.
And it kind of helps tie those two in together.
So what's your I guess your daily routine thing? Like, do you wake up? Is every day like a totally different? Do you have a routine that you kind of stick to every day?
I think now I do. I used to be a little bit more crazier. Now it's like I'll get up in time with them to take up the girls to school.
Mm-hmm.
Take the girls to school, then go get a workout in, then come back home, eat, and then just schedule the contractors, go check on some properties or go check and see what's going on, and just being out there pretty much.
How are you able to like keep up with, you said like 70 units or 75, would you say?
Yeah, 75.
How are you able to keep up with all of them? How do you have them like written down, or is it like computer on the
Yeah,
computer?
yeah. I mean, there's like software
So,
that I use for like keeping up with the rental stuff. It's kind of like the property, the rent that comes in, the expenses, the mortgages, and all that.
mm-hmm.
And and the partnerships that I'm in, they help also
Mm.
with some things like on the mobile home park that I ended up partnering up with Eric and Hernan. Yeah, so I mean, it's pretty much like now that's why I'm more into partnerships. Like now is like going forward is like if I can partner up with somebody or I think I'd rather go that route. Just because take some things off my plate because I don't want to do everything. Like
Right.
I'd rather be a small piece of creating this big thing. So now it's kind of like everybody has their roles and still trying to get it together, right? Because I mean, we're learning.
Right.
Everybody that I'm partnered up with, like we're still learning. So we're trying to see how we can work
Kind of
together.
grow together
Yeah,
and learn
yeah.
the business on its own. So how does it work when like when somebody works for a real estate place, like
Okay.
actual company? How does that work? Do you know?
Okay. You talking about like a
Like somebody that
like
works like
Century
for
21, I guess
yeah,
you can say.
something like that.
Yeah.
How does that they work off? Is it the same pretty much the same thing, but they're working for somebody?
Yeah, yeah. For example, they work for a broker. For example, for example, we have Century 21. They have their main guy, which is Brad, and then they have the agents, the real estate agents, and their jobs is just to get listings, like to list
Mm.
somebody's property, or if you're a buyer, you're looking for a certain type of property, their job is to go out there and try to see if they can find it for you if it's for sale. But that's pretty much. I mean, and of course, how they get paid is commission. I think they get like 5% of
Uh,
5% of the purchase price.
what do you think would keep like the like you said they're called agent? What do you think keeps them from like doing it on their own? Like what
There,
they just don't know it or
there's some that are investors. There's some that are just in it just because. I mean, they like dealing with people, and then they can make them good money. It just depends how hard they work and how hard they
right?
hustle, right?
It's almost like a car salesman
Yeah,
almost. Like
yeah.
cars. Man, selling cars has to be hard, bro.
Yeah. No, it's pretty much the same thing with houses too. Is you got to deal with the clients, and then you got to show them the product, which is a house, and then
Right.
try to get them to buy it. I mean, but at the same time, it's like how you are with that person,
Mm-hmm.
and then there is some like for example, my agent that I use a lot. He's an older guy. His name's Richie, and he's actually the first agent that I called out. Whenever that I was reading my little course, like call the
Right.
best agent in town because they're gonna have the most connections. They're gonna have they're more out there in the town. So
Right.
I looked it up and it was him. So I contacted him, took him out for breakfast or something, just told him what I had going on and what I wanted to do, and then he
Mm-hmm.
started showing me some properties, and then yeah, he showed me a property and kind of taught me how to from the beginning to the end, buying it and inspections and
Like the process
the
of it.
process of it. Yeah, and then
Mm.
me and him, we've done a lot of deals together. Like he's brought a lot of deals to me, and then if I'm selling, I'll go through him. So it's kind of like a
When like both of you
yeah,
eat off
yeah,
the same plate
yeah.
type
Pretty
deal.
much is like he has a lot of connections in town, and real estate business. It's all about people
Have
business.
Have you ever ran into like any dirty guys?
Yeah, there's always like
Like, cause I
especially
know they have to be out there. Like some guys that are just like trying to pull one over on you or
yeah,
something.
there's a yeah. I mean, I think in any field that you're always gonna
Yeah,
have somebody that
for
has
sure.
sour taste in their mouth, and they do things that just because they're mad. And
Right.
I do hear a lot of stories where people get screwed over by certain individuals,
Mhm.
and that's why it's important, like how you treat people,
Yeah.
and then the vibe thing
Building that
too.
relationship.
Yeah, build a relationship, get those connections
Yeah,
in,
for
and then
sure.
go from there.
Yeah. I know recently because you reached out to me about buying those cabins on the
Oh
lake,
yeah,
man. And I
I
saw
did.
that you got like you guys are you
Yeah.
guys about to start working on those already or
Yeah,
what?
we closed on it. I think last Thursday. So they've been using them for Airbnbs.
Mhm.
So I'm not a fisherman, bro. Like that's why I reached out to you. I was like, well, all these people are telling me that they're like around the fishing season or whatever. Like these
Yeah,
cabins stay filled, and
they do, bro.
Lake of the Pines is known for this, known for that. And I was like, well, I just got to
Right.
verify, right, and see if it's true, if there is people
Th-
coming out here.
Right. As soon as you told me about cabins at Lake of the Pine, I knew exactly which ones you were talking about. Like you didn't even have to tell me which ones
Oh,
they were.
really?
I already knew which ones you were talking
Yeah.
about. And I was like, man, and I told my wife, I was like, if he's able to get those cabins, I don't know about the business, but I was like, I know they would stay filled because they stay filled now. And I know if you guys were to buy them and redo them or whatever, they're going to be even nicer. Of course, they're going to be
Hmm.
even more filled, you know. And
Yeah.
I told her if he's able to get those, I think he'd be able to make some money in those cabins for sure.
Yeah.
'Cause
And then
those,
that deal came across just because, that realtor, Richie, he's like, he wasn't in the market yet. And he's like, hey, I have this coming up and we're about to list it next week. And it's like, I figured you might be interested in it. And then
hmm
he started telling me about it and whatnot. So with the contacts and stuff, I reached out to my business partner and he was up for it. And we
yeah,
ended up bringing another guy in because he knows more about fishing and RVs and all that
right.
stuff. So it was kind of good fit to bring him in. So it's like three of us that are purchasing those. So
Mm,
with those, the business plan, I mean, it's by Lake of the Pines, so it's known for
right.
fishing.
Like, yeah.
So yeah, just kind of update them, and, get it cleaned out.
How many cabins is it? Six?
It's six cabins and one house, so I guess you can say seven.
Seven.
Yeah.
I remember right there where those cabins are. You know how they have all the boats and stuff
Mm.
there. There used to be I don't know if it's still there, but there's a boat that's floating there, and there used to be a store. It's like a big houseboat, but it's an actual store on the inside.
Oh really?
And yeah, I remember we used to go there a lot. It gets a lot of traction through that area. You know, that's a real main, a good area,
Mm-hmm.
anyways. I actually was gonna rent one of those cabins. Ooh, like years ago. I was gonna rent one for me and my wife. She was like, "No, we don't need that. We live 20 minutes away. Why would we rent a cabin?" I'm
No,
like,
but
"It's,
you're
it's
here.
yeah. It's just the thought of going out there, getting away for a little while, you know. But
Yeah, just change up the scenery.
yeah, being at the lake, not having to drive to it.
No, yeah, it's a business like that. It's like a different business venture for me. I mean, it's still real estate, but at the same time, it's gonna be ran more as a business because it's kind of like you're hosting people. Like
Right.
they're staying there for like a night, 2 nights, 3 nights, or sometimes a whole week. So
So how does that part of it work? Like I know, like right now you do the real estate, like you're renting out the house. So how does it work for just like a night or two? Almost like a hotel, I guess
yeah,
you could
yeah,
say.
it's probably more about systems. I mean, you gotta have like a cleaning service or a cleaning lady or somebody to come in after the guests leave. Is you gotta go in there, clean the sheets, make sure everything is clean and
Maintained and
maintain everything, and then get ready for the next guest. So if you use like websites like Airbnb
right.
or Facebook like that, I mean, people are able to book, and then you know what's coming up next. So you have a cleaning lady, and then you have a maintenance person on site
Is the
too.
booking for that kind of stuff really hard to like handle?
I don't know, man. We're gonna figure it out. We're gonna figure it
Uh,
out. So it's kind of like one of those things that I haven't done before. So, um, yeah, like I said, we're gonna figure it out because I mean, it shouldn't be that hard, honestly.
yeah, I'm pretty sure they have like softwares and a bunch of other stuff that they can like had like where you be able to punch everything in and it kind of does everything for you.
Yeah, I'm gonna break this mic. Yeah, yeah. I think with Airbnb, I mean, you use the Airbnb. It's kind of like a little process that it has, and I mean, of course, they're gonna have all these fees, but I think it all comes down to systems.
Hmm.
So that'll be new. I mean, if that doesn't work out, then we'll probably use it as like long-term rentals, kind of like people can stay there months at a time.
Push the mic up. I think there's too much weight because those mics are really heavy.
I think we're good now.
Good. Yeah, but the Airbnb, I really haven't done it, man. I really haven't got into that world.
Got into that world.
Yeah, I really don't travel much, to be honest. I mean, I travel for my job, but I don't ever really have to stay anywhere. The farthest I usually go is like Broken Bow in
Hmm.
Oklahoma. But usually, if me and my wife will go, we'll rent a cabin. They have those cabins. We go to Dallas, may get a hotel up there.
Hmm.
But that's about as much traveling as I do. I really don't go around the world. you know?
Yeah, yeah. If I could, I would honestly.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Do
travel
you?
around.
I know you travel a lot for like. I see you a lot on Instagram when you go to like those seminars and stuff. You
Uh-huh.
do a lot of traveling,
A lot
huh?
of conferences and stuff too. No, yeah, yeah. I mean, if I could, like I said, I would travel outside of the country.
Right.
I mean, you probably know I have the DACA, the program where
Uh-uh.
I wasn't born in the United States, so
Right.
I was born in
Oh, okay,
Mexico.
okay.
So I have DACA, which is I mean, you're allowed to work, but if you travel outside, you really can't
R-
come back in.
Yeah. Isn't it also something like they can just like cut it off at
Yeah,
any time
yeah.
they want? Like if they would come tomorrow and be like, you know what? we've had enough of your shit, Raphael. Cut you off. Like
Yeah,
they can
pretty
do it.
much.
Man,
Yeah,
that
you
that
got to be on good
sucks,
behavior
bro.
and whatnot. So, I mean, that's one of the reasons too. Is like why I started looking for other sources of income is because I'm not like documented. The only thing that I have is the president saying that we're still valid to use the DACA, which is you do have permission to work, and you got to renew that every 2 years.
Uh-huh.
So it's always up for debate whenever election season comes or whatever.
Like you don't know what's gonna
Yeah,
happen
you
with
don't know
it.
what's gonna happen. So
Do you have to pay for that? The
yeah,
doctor?
every time we renew, we have to pay. I think
Huh?
like 600-700 bucks every two
Mm.
years, and that just allows you to just work and have permission to be here. But hey, just
Man.
imagine, I mean, if they get rid of that program, it's just like a lot of people are going to lose their jobs or because they're relying on a W-2 income,
Right.
and now you're saying that they can't work. So what is it that they're going to do?
Mm-hmm.
So that's why I say it's like you got to be more in control of what you can
Right.
control.
And I'm pretty sure the United States is probably looking at like those people that have that. They're probably looking to see how they're actually contributing to the
Hmm.
U.S. You
Yeah.
know, if you're just someone that has it and ain't doing nothing, they'd probably you'd be the first one to get cut. You
No.
know, I'm pretty sure that's how they would do
No,
it,
yeah.
man.
I think with the renewal process, they do ask like some personal questions too, like what is it that you do, or like the income that you make, or what
Mm.
is it. I know when I applied for it originally, they ask you all those
Did you have
questions.
to do it in like when you renew it? You have to do it in person, or do you do it
I think they
online?
made it easier where you can do it online. I think right
Okay.
now I just use a friend of ours that she's able to do it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. No, but it's one of those things, man. That it's just. I mean, I really can't do much about it, right? It's like a
Right.
thing that I have to deal with. So it's kind of like,
Yeah.
okay, how am I gonna?
And that's the thing that sucks about like all that because there's like there's a lot of talk about like the immigration and like all of that stuff, man, and it's a mess,
Yeah.
But there's a lot of good people here that that deserve to be. I just don't understand why if you were born across this line you can't come over here and succeed.
Yeah.
It's kind of hard to wrap my head around that. Like it just doesn't make much sense to me. But I get it also because of all the like drugs and everything that comes from over there that
Yeah. Yeah.
it screws it up for the people that
That
are
are
actually
actually trying to do
like
something.
someone like you. It screws it up for someone like you that is over here doing something good, and helping like we're talking about helping the community and stuff like that. It just sucks that it has to be like
No,
that.
yeah, and a lot of people, they don't see that, but at the same time, it's pretty much is like you really can't control much, and then it's all about politics, and politics is a whole different story. So
Mhm.
I really don't pay too much attention to it because I can't
Yeah.
control it, and there's a lot of negative stuff going on out there, and then you can't control it. So
And like the process of becoming a citizen or whatever,
yeah,
man, it's wild to
yeah,
be,
yeah,
man, it's very expensive. It takes up forever,
yeah,
like
yeah,
years upon years, and you got to be away from your family, and it's like they make it so hard to the point that people wouldn't even do it to not to become a citizen, like it wouldn't even make sense to do it. And then they charge you this amount of money and you're not gonna if you're coming from like Mexico, which is a very poor, there's some parts that are rich, but mostly if you were in the rich part, you wouldn't be trying to come over here in the
yeah,
first place.
yeah. The conditions you're
So
you're living in.
exactly, and like they just make it ridiculous, man. It
Not
doesn't
like
make much
I
sense.
I met a guy when I went to Florida like a month or so ago. I met a guy. We actually sat together, and I was like, I knew he didn't speak English because the flight attendant was telling him how to do certain things, and he
Uh
was
huh.
just kind of like. So I just started talking to him, and he started telling me like his background, his story, and all that. So he was. It took a month. He was from Cuba. It took him a month to cross. Like I don't know. He had to go through Mexico to because I think he did it the right way, right? He was
Right.
able to receive like a visa or some type of permit to be able to cross, but it took like a month process for him to move, and now he's in the plane, and then he sits next to me, and then we talked on the plane like the whole plane ride from Dallas to Orlando,
Uh huh.
and then he was telling me his story, and this guy is about 50 years old. He has all his families in Cuba. I don't know much about Cuba, but what he was telling me is like Cuba is like this is not very good, honestly. Like as far
Right.
as the government and the help that's out there, lack of
Yeah.
food, lack of water, like all kinds of stuff. And then
Mhm.
he, like at his age, he's flying over here to have a better life. Like he's gonna work and then try to send money that way, or then he's gonna try to get them to
Yeah.
come over here.
Like try to bring all his family back over
Yeah,
here.
yeah. It was sad, honestly, because this guy, he's looking at his phone, he's looking at his two kids, and he just like just
Man, that's
quiet.
heartbreaking, bro.
No, yeah, and then it made me realize that we really don't appreciate a lot of what we have here.
And that's so true,
And you
bro.
have this
That's so
guy
true.
that's sitting next to you, and then he just like you start talking to him, and he tells you all his story, and then see like the pain that he's feeling, and
Man,
then you can feel it.
yeah,
And I was like, man,
it feels so helpless, doesn't it? It's
yeah, it
because
does.
that's something that's like an experience, bro, that like you think in your head that you can't get out of it no more.
Yeah.
Like I bet you still picture him on that plane
Oh
next to
yeah, I
you
still yeah.
and the conversation, you probably remember every word of that
Yeah.
conversation,
I remember
man.
his name, and I stayed in contact with him. So every now and then I'll reach out to him because I do have family in Florida, so I was trying to help him, get a job over there. And no, he was a good guy. He very deserving, and he was a
Yeah.
smart guy. But just imagine coming from
Jeez.
Cuba, then getting on an airplane. You've never been on an airplane.
Right.
Now you got to get through the airport.
Not knowing, on top of that, not knowing how long it's gonna be before you can even see your family again.
Yeah, he said it's like
Yeah,
at least a year or 2 years.
that's
Yeah,
wow,
because I
man.
think I think through the process he's going through, I think he has to work like a full year, and then he can apply to be able to bring them over. So he has to be working for a full year, and then actually be good. Be a good citizen,
Right.
not get in trouble, stuff like
And
that.
then after he applies, I'm sure he still has to wait. Like, ain't no telling
Yeah,
how long before
yeah,
they even look at it, accept it, and all this other crazy
yeah.
stuff,
But think
man.
about the age that he was at, and then his kids and his family
Yeah.
left it all behind, and I think he only had like one friend that stayed over there in Orlando.
Uh huh.
So I was like, man,
And then to think there's probably like millions of people going through that same experience,
yeah,
And like you said, man, a lot of times we take things for granted. We don't realize like, well, how blessed we really are to even live here.
yeah.
Even though sometimes things suck around here, but they don't suck nearly as bad as they
Yeah.
do when you go to
So,
another country or something
somebody always has it worse. Yeah.
like North Korea, man. They have you ever seen how they live over there? It is,
I can imagine.
bro. It is wild over there. They pretty much like they're ruled by their president rules everything. Like they can't do nothing. They can't wear jeans. The girls can't wear jeans. They can't cut their hair. They can't do nothing without him letting them. If they do, they pretty much kill them.
Really?
Yeah, like every household has to have a picture of the president in there. This is how extreme it goes,
What?
bro. They have people that will go to everybody's house, and
Oh,
if they go in the house and that frame, they have to dust it off. If that frame, they'll take their finger. If it has dust on it, they get in
really?
trouble for it.
So they had to idolize this guy?
That's pretty much he's pretty
Wow.
much like their king. Like everything goes through him, and he made it to where it's like he pretty much manipulated them and told everybody like, look, if you guys give me everything, we'll give you food, we'll maintain you, we'll help you. And once he got all the power, he didn't do none of that. So
Mm.
now like they starve over there to death, bro. Like dead
So,
bodies over there, they just like they're common. There'll be dead kids on the road, and like I was listening to a interview of this girl that escaped from over there, and she was like, yeah, there's just dead bodies down the road everywhere.
oh
Like they're
wow.
just piled. Like you'll see kids eating like each other.
Oh no.
You'll see like rats eating dead bodies on the middle of the road, and you just walking by dead bodies,
Oh no.
bro.
That's it.
It's
Imagine that living situation, right?
yeah, and then like when you think about that, it's like then you come over here and just like, man, we're living it up, eating
I know.
cheeseburgers and complaining about the little
It's
things,
like, oh, it's too hot
complaining
today.
about gas being too high.
No, it
Yeah.
is crazy. Yeah, that we take it for granted. Like that's one thing that I try to teach my girls
Mhm.
is being grateful for everything,
Yeah.
for everything and anything. And it's funny because when I take them to school, it's like, what are you grateful for today?
Right.
And then they're like, to hear them what they're grateful for, I'm like,
Yeah. Yep. How you said your oldest is 10?
yeah, she's just 10.
How is that going? Like her getting older, she's probably like she's thinking she understands life, I'm guessing.
No, I don't think she's gotten to that point yet. But it's pretty cool when you have kids that, each kid has their own personality. They they,
Right.
they deal with things certain differently. Like her, she's very social. She likes to meet everybody. She likes to talk to everybody, and she's
Mm,
she's out there. She always wants to bring people together.
right.
Then you have my 7-year old. She's more like
To herself.
30 minutes, go somewhere new, like 30 minutes, she got to observe everything. She has to, she got to stand to the side. And then finally she gets comfortable and she'll start talking or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, it's pretty cool. And then she's more like on the athletic side. She likes sports. She likes being active.
Yeah.
The other one, Gracie, she's more into art, music, and stuff like that.
I know you were telling me off camera a little while ago you're about to have your third one. Like any time now. Is it a boy or a girl?
No, it's a boy.
A boy. You finally got you a boy, huh?
Yeah, it's a boy. It should be in January, sometime in January. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah, excited for the baby, and I mean, so like I said, it's a new chapter.
Yeah, most definitely. I think you'll enjoy it, man. Little boys they're something else. Sometimes they'll make you pull your hair out, but man,
it's a good thing I ain't getting it.
Pull out your beard.
Pull my beard. Yeah.
Next time I get you on here, you got patches everywhere. Like, yeah, I can tell you had a boy. Yeah, you patchy beard.
It's my kid.
Yeah.
No, it's crazy. No, excited for it because kids are like what I learned from. We have two, right? So the first one is like everything was like rushed. Everything was like this, that, and with the second one is like I sat back, boy, and kind of like enjoy the process, like enjoy like having her as like being like a month old, 2 months, 3 months, because I mean that they just next thing you know they're 20, 30.
You know what's funny, man, is when you have your first child, like everything has to be perfect. You're scared. Everything everything is so delicate. And you have your second one. You're like, man, we didn't do that with the first one. Just let him do whatever.
It's like, oh, he's eating dirt.
Yeah, he'll be all right. They ain't gonna get sick. It's funny how that works, ain't it?
No, it is. I mean, because I remember for Gracie, we bought her a lot of stuff, a lot of clothes, a lot of shoes.
Yeah, we remodeled the whole entire room, dang near the whole house for this kid.
The second one, like, oh, man, you gonna buy her shoes? Like, no, just get her some socks.
Yeah, it's socks with holes in. Just put those on her. She'll be all right.
Just some white tees. And, be all right. Yeah, because it's expensive, man.
Yeah, it is.
It's expensive, so it's like you adapt.
Yeah, that's funny how that works, man. Do you have like big plans for how you wanna like be with it with your little boy? You have a name and all that?
Yeah, we have a name. It'd be Felix Anthony. So as far as plans, like no, just enjoy it, and then just like I said, anything just lead by example.
Right.
So just try to teach him like certain morals. Be good, be kind, and just be grateful. But at the same time, it just I really don't know because every kid's different, right?
Right. So you don't know. You might be thinking like, oh, we're gonna raise him this way and grow a little fireball up.
Yeah, because you can't make them to do certain things, right? If your kid's non-athletic, you ain't got no athletic bone in him. How are you gonna make him play sports? You're trying to live your dream through him.
Right. Yeah.
It's like
there are some parents that would do that too, man. It's funny.
It's like, hey, if your kid sucks, your kid sucks.
Yeah, you gotta accept it.
You gotta
put him on the bench, man.
Go take them out yourself.
Yeah.
No, so I don't know. It just depends, right? Because I think kids are curious. They wanna do new things, and if they like it, you just kind of cater towards that. And,
right.
So we'll see. Honestly.
Yeah. You have to fill it out, huh?
Yeah, I gotta fill it out. I mean, there's nothing. I want my kid to be, doctor or something like that. No, man. Just
that's one thing that I've talked to my wife about, man. I don't want to pressure my kids to even go to college, man, because I wouldn't say I made the mistake of going, but I definitely, like, if I could go back and change it, I probably wouldn't, just because I learned a lot from it, and like we're talking about, we grew from it. But there's sometimes where you think you wish you would have did things different back then, So, and I feel like nowadays, the way the world is going, you don't really have to go to college to succeed.
Oh no! Yeah.
There's so many different ways that you can succeed without college. Now, I'm not saying don't go, but there's a lot of things you can do that doesn't require college nowadays. Back then I think it was more of a like you had to graduate, you have to go to college in order to succeed, and I don't think the world is like that anymore.
No.
The world's changed a lot.
I mean, it's a whole system. It's all in a way it ties into money. It's all
it is.
It's all about the money. I mean, you do need to get educated. I mean, you do. I mean, just whatever's best for you, honestly. But I think that you really don't need college to be successful. I mean, everybody's shooting for different things that they want to do in life, but I mean, it just depends on what you really want to do, and most of the time you don't know what you want to do.
Right.
It just
Exactly.
things happen, and then it puts you in a different position, and adapt and learn and grow from that.
Yeah, I
But
think, man, when you're getting ready to go to college, your mind isn't even fully developed yet.
right now
You know,
you're
you
just
might think you want to do that, but at the end of the day, that's probably not what you're gonna
yeah,
end up
and then
doing. There's
you're doing it because you think it's the right thing to do.
exactly, or you're trying to make your mom and dad proud, or
Yeah.
like you said, they want you to live through them. You know, they want to see you
No,
go to college and
because
succeed.
it's what's put out, right? Like, oh yeah, your kid graduated. Oh yeah, your kid went to college, and
Yeah,
yeah, but at the same time, it's like it wasn't.
that was
So,
like the formula back then.
oh
You know, you
yeah,
had to graduate and go to college in order to be successful.
yeah, graduate, get a job,
Yeah,
get married,
yeah,
and then have
do it the
kids.
right way. I told my wife, like, if my kids choose not to go to college, I think I'll be fine with it as long as they have something to fall on. Like, as long as they know what they want to do in life, other than go to college, and they're really working towards that, then I think I'd be fine with it. But if
hmm
they just like, nah, I ain't going to college and stay at home and be bums,
Oh no.
no, you're gonna have to get to go.
Yeah, is it like certain things you got to do to them too? Because you can't just like give them a bunch of slack. I mean, they
Exactly,
have to go out there and execute. They have to want something out of life too.
exactly.
You can't
Yep.
just stay home and just
Sit on the
be
couch, be a couch potato.
social media influencer, whatever you
Oh
want to do.
yeah.
Get out there and do it, man.
I told my wife, man, I was like, cause my little boy, he's a character, and I told her, like, if I become successful, like I have it envisioned in my dreams, in my mind,
You got to
like
be
me
like when you become successful.
when I become successful. Yeah, yeah,
There you
exactly.
go.
That's what you're supposed to say. When I become successful, like if my little boy would like to, like, I guess feed off of that. I wouldn't mind like him, being into YouTube because at the end of the day, this world is coming
Oh
to
yeah, yeah,
technology
yeah,
and YouTube and all that other stuff. Man, there's so much money into
yeah.
that. And it would be like that's how a lot of these people get famous on YouTube because if you know somebody that's already made it and then you just go in with them, that you're gonna fall. All your people that know this person are gonna go over here with you, and you just kind of feed off of that. That's why they say doing collaborations and all that helps you grow
Grow.
on YouTube.
Yeah,
But
it's like a whole process with that too, man.
yeah,
I'm
I
pretty
would.
sure it's hard.
I wouldn't mind doing a family channel, but how some people are like, I don't want to be on camera, this and that. So I'm like,
I think you're used to it. Yeah.
yeah. But yeah, even my daughter, if she wanted to do something like that, it'd be cool because I'd be able to kind of like walk them through it because I've already been through it.
Mm.
So that's one thing, but I'm not gonna pressure them into it. But if it was something that they'd be interested, at least I'd be able to help them with it.
Yeah, be able to help them, and then I mean, do what they want to do. But
Yeah.
if they're
Yeah.
gonna do it, go out there and get it done.
Yeah, like when you look at it though, like there's not a kid out there that doesn't play with a phone, doesn't play with a tablet, doesn't watch a TV, doesn't go to YouTube. Like all these kids, TikTok is just a whole other world
Yeah.
already. That's whew.
How old were you when you got your first phone?
I was in high school. I
Me
was like,
too.
I think I was almost about to graduate. Like it
Yeah.
was either 11th or 12th grade. I had that little flip phone back
Yeah,
then.
yeah.
Yeah.
It's the same here, man. That's why I ask you. It's kind of like because we went through. It's not like we're that old, honestly, but it's just
Right.
like technology advances so quick, and that's why I
Yeah.
say I didn't even want a phone. I think I graduated high school. My mom like she gave me the phone. She's like, well, you're probably gonna need it because you're moving and like what if something happens? You're like,
Right.
I don't need that.
Yeah.
And we got pay phones.
Yeah.
No,
You,
it's technology is advanced, and I remember when we moved to Dallas, like it's a whole big city compared to Marshall.
yeah.
So you're trying to move around the city. I remember going in school, uh, trying to find the directions for where
Yeah.
I needed to go. So it's like print out the
Yeah.
directions and you
Yeah.
drive.
You're looking at the map on here, like, oh man, I think I missed the street.
For real,
Yeah.
it's like technology is like so crazy, and it's gonna continue to advance.
Oh
So
yeah, for sure.
so
It's like everything's going to online now.
oh
Like you
yeah,
can't everything even like working at a 9 to 5 job. Everything's gonna be online. Like my job, we just switched to doing everything online.
oh
So
really?
like everything's online on our phone, on our tablet. Everything's online. Even clocking in and out, we do it online.
Yeah, everything's more yeah. On,
So
more simple, honestly. It's like to do everything online.
All right, we're talking about technology and robots and what else? Nah.
The AIs and all that good stuff.
Yeah, so, oh man, it's been a good talk, good time catching up. I hadn't actually seen you in a while.
That's what I was thinking on my way over here. Like, dang, when was the last time I saw Eddie? Like, I've talked to you on the phone.
Yeah, but it feels like I haven't seen you in forever. Like,
when was the last time?
It has to have been.
It's been some time.
At least years, maybe.
Yeah, but I mean,
think the last I saw you at that taco truck that one time when I got your number. That's when it was. That's the last time I remember. I think
it's like 3-4 years ago.
Yeah, like we said, we've talked on the phone or whatever, but it feels like I've seen you.
Yeah, and I'm always down like this street, like.
Oh really?
House, yeah.
Yeah. So this is the first time Raphael's came to my house. So now you know where I live. You can stop by anytime.
Be like TFTI.
Yeah, I come in the studio. You're chilling, talking to the camera.
Got your little snacks over there.
Yeah, you're snacking.
No, but yeah, it's good talk. I mean, I think doing this is just kind of like, because I think nowadays it's good to have good conversations with people.
Oh, for sure, man.
And if there's anything I can help with, I mean, I'm willing to. But it's good to get around people that are kind of like-minded and are reaching for their goals and actually want something out of life, because it's crazy nowadays, especially with social media. People create a certain presence online, and it's tough to find like good, genuine people that you can actually
that you can count on.
You can count on and actually talk to, and actually don't have to feel a certain way about it either.
Before we take off, did you run into anybody that I guess you could say didn't believe in you and in your dreams? Have you ran into anybody like when you started doing this journey of going out on your own and doing this real estate stuff? Did you ever have any like pushback from anybody or somebody that didn't think you could actually do it?
I don't know. I mean, I don't know, unless they're saying it behind my back.
Yeah, but you never had somebody.
Yeah, I never have anybody that they always see me as a quiet person or whatever, but at the same time, it's like I don't think I've had anybody. I mean, unless they are, I mean, they haven't told me or I'm aware of. But at the end of the day, I really don't care.
Yeah, like I was just wondering because I remember when I started this YouTube stuff, and I was telling like everybody, like, yeah, this is my dream. This is what I want to do. This is what I'm gonna do. I had some people that told me to my face, like, I don't think you could do it. Yeah. And to me it was a shocker, because I guess when you start something or you're like trying to get somewhere in life, and you just have someone straight bluntly tell you like, I don't think you can do it. It's like, whoa, I wasn't expecting that, and you're just starting to chase your dream or whatever. Now it doesn't bother me. Now it's more like, wow, just wait and see type deal,
Use it as fuel in a way.
Yeah, but back then it was like, dang, like the people that you think would help you get there or believe in you are the ones that were like, nah.
Yeah.
It was a shocker for me.
Yeah, it's unfortunate too, honestly. But at the same time, I think I have like family, but at the same time, like, oh, why are you doing that? Because real estate, you're buying property, so the depth on the property is high. So now you have like a lot of depth. Like, you're not scared of depth. Or, why are you doing that? What if this happens? What if that happens? I was like, man, I'll figure out when I get there.
We got to get there first.
We got to get there first, and we'll figure it out then. But it's just like your why and the reason why you're doing it, and if you can just stay with it.
Right.
I mean.
Yeah.
And you're doing it for yourself. You're not doing it for
one more people. Question. I know. Have you ever like got a house or went to see a house and be like, man, I wish this was for me, instead of like renting it out or something to someone else?
Sometimes, man. Like for me, I don't need much to
be happy.
To be happy or to live. Like I'm happy with. But I mean, you always want more too, right?
Right.
So, I mean, I look at it in the fact that I'm providing housing for people, and it's like I wouldn't mind staying there.
Right.
Like if I would stay there, like that means that other people would want to stay there too.
Right.
But at the same time, it's do you want to make it nice? Then you can make it too nice. Then it's like
hey man, this house is better than mine. We need to move in this house.
We need to move into this one, and no, it's like now I've got a system where it's like I keep everything basic, everything simple,
right,
nice and clean. I say less is more.
Yeah.
So it's kind of doing that.
Okay. Well, man, I appreciate you coming by. Appreciate you doing the podcast, man. It was a blast. It was I really do have fun. I love when I started this channel. This is exactly why I started it, to just do something like this. Like you said, I feel like the connection, like the lost connection of just sitting down and talking to somebody isn't there like it used to be, because
Oh
like we were talking
man,
about technology, everybody's Facebook messaging,
messaging.
texting, all this. Like podcast brings people back together. I feel like you can sit there and have a conversation and forget about the world for a second, forget about technology, the media, all of that crap, and just have a true, genuine conversation with somebody.
Yeah,
Like like I remember, like when we lived in Dallas, this is how it was. We'd be in the apartment, talking right at the
yeah.
swimming pool.
On
Remember,
a swimming pool.
and I feel like all that gets lost sometimes
Oh
with a lot of different people,
yeah, yeah.
because of technology. And it's just good to sit down and talk to people. This is one of the main reasons I really love doing the podcast, and you get to find stuff out about people that you didn't know about them
Yeah,
sometimes.
like I say, everybody has a story, and
Exactly.
it's good to hear like what people been through. Like I really didn't talk too much about what I've been through and then this and that, but
Right.
everybody has a story that if they can share, they can kind of help
Mhm.
people go through what they're going through in life, and because everybody's fighting their own battles, so
Exactly.
everybody has their own thing that they're going through, and if I feel like I can help somebody get over
Right.
something or help them with something, it's like that's one of the kindest things you can do. So.
Do you have to run already? Do you have to go?
No,
No.
it's
Okay.
like
I
run.
would. Dang. What do you think about me now?
I
Because
need to.
I would like to get in. I don't know if you want to do it today or if you want to come back, but I would like to get in and talk about, because I don't ever think I've ever talked to you about this, but how you were raised, like
Um,
your upbringing.
yeah,
You know.
no, like we can honestly. Since we're already rolling, I mean,
So let's talk about that for a little bit. How was your upbringing? I know, like you were saying, you were in Mexico or whatever. Like, how old were you when you moved over here?
yeah. Well, I moved over here twice. I know I was born in Mexico. Like when I was a year, my parents decided to come to the United States,
Hmm.
and we stayed out here for like 2 years or something like that.
What part of Mexico? And I'm gonna cut you off, but
Toluca,
Toluca.
Toluca.
Okay.
Yeah, so we moved over here, stayed for 2 years, and so I moved back. I was around 3 or so.
Mhm.
So I stayed there at 8. We moved back over here, but I actually enjoyed Mexico.
Okay.
Like we didn't have like no running water, no electricity. Like we stayed in a rancho, like the country.
Right.
So it was. I had good memories because we were
Mm.
all surrounded by family. Like family was like down there, like right there. Like
Right.
everybody was kind of close together, and we had this open yard, and everybody would just kind of get together and play, and it was fun.
I think when you raised like that, man, it's not. I wouldn't know. I don't know if I would say sad, but it's like you don't have everything, but
Mm.
at the same time,
Yeah,
it feels like you have
yeah,
everything.
yeah,
And I think it's because like you have the most important things in life. You
yeah.
have your family there, and you're all helping one another, because everybody there is, nobody's rich there,
No.
but you all work together to make it work,
Yeah, and I think that's what I enjoyed the most because I was a kid. I really didn't have to worry about much, but like I said, we didn't have water. You had to go to the creek to get water, and then for electricity, we didn't have electricity. I think the only one that had it was my aunt. Was she stayed up on the hill, and we used to get together like Saturdays, go watch TV at her house, and it was like a
So,
whole.
do you know how that works over there? Like electricity?
Nah.
Like, I wonder like how they do it. Like only this person has it, or
I
how?
think now there's like it just depends. I think if you have the money, you're able to
Oh, okay.
get
So it's just a
get it
money
supplied
thing.
over there.
Ah,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
Affording to be able to have it.
Afford it and
Ah,
be able to
gotcha.
do that. It is accessible, but it's like if you can't afford it, it's like they can't go out there and stick a
Right.
pole and all that.
And I think that's what a lot of people miss out. That like a lot of people that don't understand or the immigration part of it, or why people try to come over here, is because a lot of people over there are poor. Like you didn't have electricity, no water, none of that, and that's why a lot of people come over here and chase that American dream
Yeah,
to just have electricity.
yeah. I have a better life in a sense, but I didn't know exactly what was going on. My parents were
Hmm.
the ones that they wanted to come to the United States, and when I was 8, that's where we came.
Hmm.
And you come out here, I started second grade, so you didn't know no English. Well, I didn't know any English, and starting to learn and speak English. And I remember I used to be scared of cops and all that because
Think they were gonna get you.
yeah, but it was like one of those things. So it's like we were we used to live in a garage, kind of like a shed, and it was like we went through it, but we enjoyed each other's company. But what
Right.
my parents taught me was just hard work, because my dad, he always had like a plan. My dad was always working. He wasn't at home, but he was always working. So
Right.
so he was doing it for the right reasons. It's like we did this, we did that,
Right.
and I remember like he used to go out like trying to look for a house. He used to ride. He had a bike. He would go and ride a bike,
Man.
look for a house, and then he would take me when I learned how to speak English, like to
Communicate and all.
communicate with
Translate and all
yeah.
that.
So that's how I started real estate. I was over there negotiating
Yeah.
with the people.
You started from a young age.
I was negotiating, so yeah,
Yeah.
that's what my dad would do. Is like go and try to raise up some money. Like his brothers would help him with money. He'll buy the house, he'll fix it up. We'll stay there for like 2-3 years, and then he'll buy another one, but then keep that one
Rent it out.
and rent it out or sell it. Then yeah, he did that for a little while, and I was always the middle.
It's amazing, bro, to know that something like your dad lived in Mexico, since he was probably, how old was you think he was when he, maybe
We-
30, 40 when y'all moved over here?
No, my dad, he was young. He was like
He's young.
18.
When y'all moved over here?
Yeah.
So for him to be raised pretty much his whole, all his childhood life and everything in Mexico, and come over here and still have the ability to learn how to do, pretty much buy real, like he was doing real estate when you
Yeah.
think about it,
No, because they had me at a young age. I mean, I think my dad was 17 or 18 when they had me,
Mm.
but so he had been, but he was coming to the United States, so he was probably like 25.
That's
20,
amazing though that
27.
he like that people can actually, because over there they don't even go to school a lot of
Oh,
the
no.
time. Like if they do, it's like to a very low grade,
Very low grade.
And to come over here and succeed in buying and selling house, renting houses out, like there's people in America that go to college and can't do it
Yeah,
here,
can't do
So
No, it all comes down to the determination
yeah,
and being able
how
to
bad you want it.
how bad you want it. And then I grew into a family of like it was a lot of us. So like it was 10 of us, but 7 are living. So it's 7 of us. I got 7 siblings. So it was yeah. That's why I say my parents were always working. My mom was always working. So that's one thing that I did learn from them is like work. And then he was heavy into church and all that stuff.
Right.
So we did a lot of church, but. Like I said, for the outside looking in, like, yeah, you could see that, like, my family was probably struggling, but, like, us living there, like, we were
2 years of
we were
normal
good.
life.
Yeah, we were happy, yeah.
Yeah.
But at a young
You-
age, like, I knew that, like, if I wanted something, I had to go get it, and I had to work for it. So
Right. Heck yeah, man. That's freaking awesome. I'm glad that we kept it going because that's something I never knew about that,
Oh, yeah. Then that's, and that's why, you kind of learn, too, is, like, for me, there's another lesson that I learned from my dad there is that, you can get lost in just working and working to provide for your family. But the thing is that when you're working so much and you're not putting time into your family, then that connection there. Like,
right.
I didn't have that, but as far as the younger kids, I see that's what happened. It's like my dad was always working. So the younger siblings, if they hear this, I'm probably getting on to them. It's because, they grew up here. So for them, it was more like,
Right.
it was
See
more
what you
like,
mean.
for them, it was easier.
Their life was a lot easier than growing up in Mexico.
So things were kind of handed down to them. They didn't really have to struggle. They really didn't understand that why my dad did things a certain way, or
right.
how he was, or the reason why he was like that.
Like
So-
they don't understand the meaning behind
Yeah.
everything that's going on or what was
Yeah,
done.
then they take it like, oh, he didn't want to spend time with me. Oh, he didn't want to pay attention to me. It's like, no, bro, my dad's busting
Yeah.
his butt out
Yeah.
there working to provide a better life for you,
Yep.
and then you're over here being sensitive about like
Yeah. Ungrateful.
ungrateful. And it's that. That's what I'm saying. It's like with the immigrants that come into the country, they have this like mentality, like they have to.
They have that drive,
They
man.
have the drive,
They
yeah.
have that drive to succeed and make it happen. No matter what they got to go
Yeah.
through or what they got to do.
Yeah, and the one thing from that is like my dad and my mom. I mean, they probably did struggle. Is that I take a look at it like they didn't come here just for me to be like.
Right, just so you could do whatever you want
Just
to do.
yeah, they didn't come here and then for me to be like, I don't know. I feel like I have to,
Right.
set the standard.
They came here to give you a better life so that you can pretty much continue it down the road,
Yeah, yeah.
and give your kids a better life and such and
Yeah,
such.
because it starts. I mean, because they only brought you to a certain point, and
Exactly.
now it's up to you.
Right.
What are you gonna do with this opportunity that you have?
Yeah.
Like it's amazing for me to see that they barely speak English and they're still able to. In my eyes, they're successful.
Mhm.
But because they've, my dad has his own business and all my uncles do too, and for them to be able to do that, I'm not saying that's like all they're gonna accomplish, but
Right.
It's
That's already a big accomplishment
yeah,
coming from where they came from, you
yeah,
know?
exactly.
Yep.
So it's kind of like we have to play a role in that too, to
Right.
continue to do that.
Yep.
It's
How long did it take you to learn English once you moved down here?
I don't think it took long, honestly,
You caught on
because
to it quick? Because I know, like, some
yeah,
people struggle, you know?
yeah. I think
Mm.
it was easy for me because I think like when I picked up like learning how to read,
Mm-hmm.
it's like that helped me a lot to speak it. I remember my second
Mm.
grade teacher, like she used to stick me out in the hallway with another student, like she spoke Spanish too,
Uh-huh.
and we would just read. She would just I would just read, and I think within that first year, I think I was
Pretty good.
yeah, because they took me out of
Dang.
ESL.
That's pretty good, man, because there's some people that they have to study it and study and study it.
Yeah, I
Because
mean
they
it is
say, like,
hard.
the English language is the hardest language to learn,
Yeah,
they say, you know?
yeah. I mean, it's a good thing that I learned it at that age, like 8, 9 years old.
Right.
Because I mean, I think down the line, it's like you can probably hear my accent, but if you learn it like 12 and 13, I think that's when it's a little
Yeah.
bit harder
Yeah.
too.
And you would think it'd be the older you are, it'd be easier because you can read more, you
Uh,
can but I think starting from a young age is
it's like
key.
yeah,
You know.
no, it is key. No, but yeah, it didn't take that long. But I mean, it was yeah, just reading. That was pretty much what happened
Heck
there.
yeah, that's awesome, man.
Oh,
Well, man, I appreciate you coming out here once again. Thank you. I definitely want to get you back out on here if
oh yeah,
that's something you're willing to do. You know, I'd
definitely, man.
love to have you back on here. I think it's pretty cool being able to sit here and just talk about life for a
Yeah,
little while. You know.
yeah, and it still continues, man. We still young.
Oh yeah, for sure,
Different
for sure.
chapters.
Is there anything like where someone wants to reach out to you? You know, as far as all that, like Instagram or whatever.
Yeah, I mean, you know me. I try to be more on Instagram, but it's like sometimes I have my little
Right.
dry
Just
spells. Yeah, it's mainly the Instagram, just Rafel Luna. But yeah, that's the main one is Instagram.
Instagram.
Try to
Rafel.
keep the day to day stuff on there if I
Right.
can. But yeah, I need to be more active on there, honestly, because I mean, not only
Yep.
just to show people what I'm doing, it's just like is it like maybe something another partner pops up in there.
Exactly. That's why I
Hey,
want you to. That's why I wanted you to put like your
yeah.
stuff out
Or
there.
if
So
people
if
are
there's
interested in like real estate or something or around
yeah
from this area that are wanting to get
questions,
into it, yeah,
yeah
like I'm willing to help anybody out.
yeah. So Rafael Luna on Instagram. You guys check him out. Go over there if you have any questions about real estate or business partner or business in general. You guys hit him up and thank you once again, man. And we will catch you guys next time on The Truth.
On the
Peace.
truth.